morning, everybody. Welcome to Compass Christian Church. My name is Luke Davidson, and I'm the campus pastor here at the North Richland Hills campus. It's good to be back with you guys today. I got to spend the last couple weeks at a friend's church in Florida. My brother was his worship leader about 10 or 15 years ago, so I was just excited to get to do that. I did go into the beach for like a day, so it was good. I got a little more color, I think. But I'm glad to be back with you today. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Jack and to Shannon, who preached the last 2 weeks. Can y'all just celebrate? I thought they did such a great job. I'm so grateful for them. And today we are going to finish out the series we've been in called Say, where we're looking at words that have the power and the potential to change your life. And we've talked about, over the last several weeks, we've talked about what to say and when to say it. We talked about phrases like, I'm sorry, or I forgive you. Those could be life-changing phrases for you, for your scenario, for your situation. In fact, I know that some of you during this series over the last few weeks, you decided to say, I'm sorry, or to say, I forgive you to someone, and that made a big difference. Maybe you decided to forgive yourself. What about the phrase, I love you? It's always a good reminder to say I love you to those that are close to you, just to remind them or to affirm something that maybe they're not aware of, that you do have love for them. Other phrases we talked about, I believe that Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. That's one of the greatest things you could ever declare in your life if you've never done that. And of course, it never gets old to say thank you, to show gratitude for the things in our lives. But today I want to go in a little different direction than what we've talked about the last few weeks. Today I want to talk about how sometimes there are occasions where you need to say nothing. You need to say nothing. Parents, you know that this is the case. They just say nothing. I told you to do it, so you do it. Or maybe you feel that way with your friend, or you're in your relationship. You say, hey, could you just say nothing right now? I thought of a few occasions when you should say nothing. If you're a parent, you know this one. When your mouth is full of food, don't talk with your mouth full. You should say nothing. How many of you are like me? When a movie is being watched by you, you should say nothing. Anybody like that in the room? Okay, a few of you. How many of you want to talk through the whole movie? You're here. It's more for the social aspect. Yeah. And there's some theaters you go to where they're just yelling at the screen and all that stuff. That can be fun. But when we're watching a movie at home, I just want everybody to be quiet. My family laughs at me because I'm always like, can y'all be quiet? Well, what's going on? You would know if you were watching the movie. And then other things that say, hey, what's going on? I'm like, we're going to find out together in about 10 minutes. If you would just watch the movie. How many of you, I think there's a poll that we could read, because sometimes there are people, depending on your personality, where you might say something, or you might be the person that says, I'm not saying anything, okay? When you get bad service at the restaurant, are you the person who says something or the person who says nothing? How many of you are the person who says something when you get bad service at the restaurant, right? Yeah, hey, we got to call the manager over here. We got to fix this because there's other people who are going to be sitting here who need to have a better experience, and I'm going to help them with that. How many of you are the people who are like, I'm not going to say anything if I have a bad experience at the restaurant? Yeah, it's like, that's not that big a deal. I'm just going to move on. It'll be fine. Okay, so we know that sometimes we fall on different sides of the opinion on that one. What about when you're talking to someone and they have something in their teeth? How many of you say something when you have somebody you're talking to have something in his teeth? Yeah. You're like, how could I live with myself if I didn't share with them that there's something in their teeth, and now they're going to go the rest of their day, they're going to talk to other people with stuff in their teeth. I have to confront it. You got to go look in the mirror, man. There's something in your teeth. And then hopefully they say, hey, good looking out. Thank you for looking out for me. How many of you are like, I'm not saying anything if there's something in their teeth? No way. That's embarrassing. It's awkward. I don't want to make them feel bad. I'm not going to say anything in that moment. Yeah. So we fall in different areas. What I want to look at today are some times that maybe you should think about saying nothing. And I know that we've got different personalities and different certain scenarios you might find. Hey, I need to say something here. I need to say nothing here. Today I want to talk about a few times when it might be best to say, nothing. If you have your Bible, we're going to be in just two verses, one verse mainly, in a letter called James, written by James. Whenever you have a book in the New Testament that has the name of a person, like James, it's either, well, I think absolutely, it's either written to that person or it was written by that person. It was either written to that person or by that person. And in this instance, it was written by. It was written by James. And we're going to look in chapter 1, verse 19. And even if you're following along on your phone, this is a verse that is super practical and a great reminder that you could use every single day. Every single day. If you ever find yourself interacting with another human being, this verse is going to be helpful. If you live up in the Rocky Mountains by yourself in a cabin, okay, maybe not so helpful. But if you ever interact with another human being, this is a very helpful verse. So helpful that you might want to screenshot this. You might want to copy, paste it somewhere. You might want to write it on a Post-it note. You might want to maybe use, have you ever used dry erase marker? You can do that on your mirror in your vanity in your bathroom. I've done that before. Kathleen's done that before, my wife. And so you can just put this in places just as a reminder, because this is not easy. It's going to sound very simple. I'm not saying it's complicated, but I am saying it's not easy to implement into your life. Before we dive into James 1:19, I just thought of a few other times that are worth saying out loud today. I know we're talking about saying nothing, but let me just tell you out loud, let me tell you a few things about times when you should probably say nothing. When someone you know has someone in their family or a friend who died, and you don't know what to say, you don't have to say anything. I mean, you could say, hey, I'm sorry, you could say those little things, but sometimes people feel compelled to explain the situation to the person. Hey, your friend died, but God has a reason for that, or God won't give you more than you can handle. And we feel compelled to say some things that honestly to the person in the moment of suffering are not really helpful, can actually be very frustrating. And I would just encourage you, if you have somebody who's struggling or suffering, you don't really have to have the right words. You can probably say nothing. Your presence will say everything. Just being there for them, letting them know, hey, I'm praying for you. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. And recognizing the pain and suffering that they're going through is really all you need to do. I can give you a couple of examples of when people have said the wrong thing in a moment of suffering. At my brother's funeral, at the visitation, my brother was on staff at a big church, and I had interned there a couple years earlier. Honestly, I would have loved to work at that church. There was another guy on staff who came through the visitation line and was asking me about my job situation at that time. This was almost 10 years ago at this point. And I was saying, hey, I don't know where I'm going to work next. And he gestured to my brother's casket and said, well, we have an opening. And then he realized what he said, went beet red, and walked away. I literally have not talked to him since. And it was just horrifying. And I was like, are you kidding me? And he was like, oh my goodness, I was not thinking about what I was saying. And he just walked away. Yeah, probably would have been best to say nothing in that occasion. The same situation, I had somebody else, and they really meant well, but he came up and he said, man, I know what you're going through. He was trying to empathize. He said, my grandfather just passed away. I know this is so hard. And in my heart, I knew what he was trying to say, but my brother was 36. It was sudden. It was a car accident. His grandfather had reached the end of his life, and it was natural causes why he had died. In that situation for me, I was mad at God. I was struggling with a lot of things. It was not helpful. I was like, this is not comparing to that situation. And I understood his heart, but that was an occasion where I would have just liked him to say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I would have said, thanks for being here. And I would have remembered that. And in those moments, it's not like you can, it's not, I know your heart, I know where you're coming from, but the person that you're trying to love on, that you're trying to support, they probably don't need words from you. They probably just need your support and your presence. Other times that I thought of when you should probably say nothing, when you're about to lie. If you're about to lie this week, I hope you hear my voice saying, don't say anything. Just don't say anything. When you're about to gossip, I hope that you just double check yourself and say, oh, I'm about to gossip. I should probably just say nothing. Or when you're about to insult someone, you should probably say nothing. But let's look at 3 really practical, interactive things where James basically recommends, hey, you should probably say nothing. James chapter 1, verse 19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. And here's the part that if you wanted to write down somewhere, I would recommend it. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. When you're supposed to be listening, you should say nothing. When you are weighing out your words about what you need to say, just trying to be slow in the approach, you should probably say nothing. When you feel yourself starting to get angry, you should probably say nothing. And I just want to admit to you today, I'm not very good at this. You might not be very good at this either. But we're going to talk about some ways that we might get better at this, that we could be quick to listen, that when we're supposed to be listening, we might say nothing, that we might be slow to speak and weigh our words as we approach them, that we might be slow to anger. I think that I would love to improve in that. Would you guys like to improve in that as well? I think it would make our relationships a lot better. So let's explore these just for a few minutes today. Number 1, quick to listen. Quick to listen. If we are being honest, if you're looking for a new employee to hire, if you are listing out your favorite athlete, if you're talking about the politician that you're going to vote for, the political candidate, whenever we think about those different areas, usually we prefer somebody who is quick to speak, quick to move, decisive, quick to do, quick to follow through, quick to move. Not somebody who's a slow processor. Also, if we were being honest with ourselves, when you and I look in the mirror, maybe you would say that you are quick to be irritated or quick to be annoyed. We embrace this sort of attitude, and I feel like in our culture I hear people say, hey, I don't take nothing from nobody, or I'm a diva, or I'm sassy. Maybe some of you don't say that, but I just want to encourage you today, stop celebrating those things. James rebukes you. He says, be quick to do one thing. Listen. Listen. Reminds me of the story of Mary and Martha. If you don't know the story of Mary and Martha, they had to host Jesus at their home. Can you imagine if you had to host Jesus at your home? How many more pillows would you need on that couch? You just need more pillows on the couch. I'm just kidding. You don't need more. How many things would you have to do to prepare to host Jesus? And you think about all the preparation, all the stuff to do in that moment. And we in our culture, we value the doing, the buying, the rushing, the hurrying. And Mary was not doing those things that day. Martha was quick with the doing and the hustling and the hosting and the serving. But Mary, her sister, was quick to listen. She was sitting at Jesus' feet, listening to him teach. I get that we in our culture, I understand I myself are quick with the doing. And Martha was that way. She basically calls Mary out and says, you need to stop being lazy, get up on your feet, help me host Jesus and all of his guys and his people that are here today, help me. And then Jesus basically takes that and says the exact opposite. And he rebukes Martha. Dear Martha, Jesus says, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. When I read stuff like that, it challenges my attitude and my disposition because I'm a quick with the doing kind of person. But here Jesus says you got to prioritize listening over doing. You have to prioritize listening over speaking. William Ury had a TED Talk not too long ago where he said this: listening, I believe, is the missing half of communication. Absolutely necessary, but often overlooked. Seems like James might have been onto something here. That we need to be quick to listen. That it is half the battle of communication. Now, we live in an age full of communication. We're always texting, tweeting, posting. We're always throwing out communication. But how much listening is happening in the midst of all the interruptions and the disruptions that are happening and the distractions? I like to think about myself when I am in a conversation, even when I'm listening. I'm just going to admit this today. How many of us, if you could just be honest with me today, and I hope I'm not alone in this, you're just listening for how you can respond. Do you do this? Because I do this. I'm just listening for, okay, how can I one-up this story? Do you ever do this? I'm listening for you're listening for how you can win the argument. See, I'm listening here. I'm breaking down your argument. I'm not actually valuing what you're saying. I'm actually, this is horrible logic. I'm going to break down this argument. I'm going to win this. And I'm listening for my own response. That is not true listening. When you're just listening so that you can find a way to take the spotlight back or to one-up the other person's story. Dale Carnegie, maybe you've heard of him before. He actually wrote one of the most influential books of the 20th century, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You probably had to read this at some point in school or something like that. Two of his main principles, number one, well, I don't remember what number it was, but two of his main principles, one of them was encourage others to talk about themselves. It's a great way to win friends and encourage other people, because they'll think you're incredible because that you were interested in them. And don't just be fake about your interest. His other principle is to be genuinely interested in other people. Not fake interested, not pretending to be interested, but genuinely interested in other people. Don't just listen to what is said. Listen for what is not said. Don't just pay attention to their words. Try to look for what's behind their words. Where's that coming from in their heart? Be genuinely interested. I think that this is a skill that we should teach our kids. We teach our kids to read. We teach our kids to write. But how much are we teaching them to listen? I think that might be more important in this day and age, maybe than ever before. Number two. So number one was be quick to listen. Number two, be slow to speak. This is the art of moving into a conversation slowly, thoughtfully, gracefully. Just paying attention to how you step. Watch your step. Mind the gap. If you've ever been on the subway system in England, mind the gap. There's something you could trip over there. Sometimes you say words that cause you to trip or cause somebody else to trip, can cause an argument, different things. Just paying attention to what is said, slow to speak. This past Monday, my wife and I, we celebrated 13 years of being married. And we've made it 13 years. Some of you are many, many years more than that. Some of you, it's fantastic. I think it gets better over time. But here's one thing that I would just admit to myself. When you first start dating, and maybe you know this, maybe you remember this, maybe you're still here, good for you. When you first start dating, do you notice that you weigh every word that you say? You reread the text message 17 times before you hit send. You're very aware of what you're about to say to the other person because you want to make it land well. You want to win that person over. You're trying to say the right thing every single time. Over time, 13 years, you stop weighing every single word. Which is nice. You can get comfortable. There's comfort there, except for the moments when you stop weighing your words and you speak too fast. It can cause you a lot of frustration. I know from personal experience. Maybe your parents taught you if you don't have anything nice to say, you ought to say nothing at all. I wish I would remember that in important moments. You could say something that you don't mean. You could say something that you can't take back. You can't take it back. If I had been slow to speak in some of those moments, if you had been slow to speak in some of those moments, you might have saved yourself a lot of frustration. If we could just learn to be slow to speak and to weigh out and time our words well. Now, this doesn't mean that you talk slowly like the sloth in that movie Zootopia. And that's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about pausing, considering your words before you just blurt them out. This is especially important when you're in a fight, when you're in an argument. Those are the moments where you are not quick to listen, where you speak without any hesitation, and ultimately that can easily lead to anger, which is the third action we want to explore, and then we're going to circle back and hit all three again. Number 3, let's be slow to anger. When you're in the moment, when you're in the heat of the argument, it is easy to get angry, and we kind of see ourselves as boxers in a boxing match with quick jabs and fast punches, and we're looking for the tiniest opening to land the blow, to lash out and knock them hard, because you want to win. And sure, that's how boxers win. That is not how you win in a relationship. That's not how you win in a friendship. That's not how you win with your coworkers. That's not how you win with other students in your school. If you lash out without thinking about your words and you don't weigh them and you don't think about the impact that they're going to have, you could destroy a friendship. You could lose your job. It happens all the time. You probably know somebody, not a long time ago, but very recently, their words cost them their job. You could really damage your marriage. And I've noticed in most relationships, you know this, you've heard this, one person is the retreater, the other person is the person who wants to confront it right then and there. There are strengths to both of these, but usually there's one who is a slow processor who needs time to think and to feel and to process, and then the other is a fast instigator. I did not say processor intentionally. They're not processing anything. You're not processing anything. You just think, react, and go because you're fast on your feet and you can strike. You could strike fast. Pastor Drew says it this way, our lead pastor. He says, one of you is amped up, the other gets locked up. I love that. One of you likes to instigate, the other wants to isolate. And maybe that's not the case for you, but maybe you have 2 that are locked up, 2 that are amped up. That's a whole different strategy right there. But if you find yourself kind of in this different corners, one of you is amped up, the other is locked up, one is instigating, the other is trying to isolate. When you see these 2 get in an argument, it's like watching a lightning fast boxer just completely pummel an amateur. And so I just want to say real quick to the amped up crowd, it is not fair what you do sometimes. Hear my words saying, yeah, you are faster on your feet, you're better with arguments, so what? Stop it. Because what you're doing is not fair when you bully the other person, when you bully your friend because you're faster on your toes, when you bully your spouse, when you bully the coworker, whatever it might be, just stop. Because when one of you is amped up, the other is locked up, one of you is instigating, the other is isolating, who wins? Nobody actually wins. Sure, if you were boxing, you'd win. But we're not boxing. And you both are probably angry. The best line in Toy Story is when Miss Potato Head says to Mr. Potato Head, are you in a good mood? And he replies, I'm not sure. And she says, I'll just pack your angry eyes just in case. I love that. It's so clever. And sometimes we pack our angry eyes, and we just assume that when the moment comes, we will just jump into anger when the time hits. When somebody cuts you off in traffic, when you're around rude people or arrogant people who think they know all the answers, when you are interacting with your spouse, he always leaves his clothes on the floor. She always squeezes the toothpaste from the middle of the tube. Oh no. There are these moments that sometimes when we back away and we think about them, it's like, that's really trivial. In the moment, it doesn't feel trivial. I know it. It feels significant. Sometimes it feels like big things, small things. And I'm not trying to say that these are illegitimate things. Maybe you find yourself legitimately angered by sex trafficking, abortion, abuse, poverty makes you angry. You might find things in your life that you'd say, hey, that's legitimate. But notice, it doesn't say don't get angry. It says be slow to anger. Be slow to anger. I think that, in fact, if you are quick to listen, you will be slow to speak and slow to anger, and you will time it out just right. It's when we don't time it out just right. Verse 20, he says the reason you want to do this is because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Check your anger. Check your speaking. Check your listening. Are you listening from a human? Are you speaking and getting angry from a human perspective? That is not going to create God's righteousness. Take God's posture. Try to have his heart, his timing. That produces the righteousness that God desires for us. And I think that if we do this, if you listen quickly, you will be slow to speak, you will be slow to anger, and it will result in better friendships, less stress, less division for you, better friendships, better relationships, a more enjoyable life. So we're going to have a little fun for a moment. I want you to notice these 3 action words here. Did you notice quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry? That's quick, slow, slow right there. That's how to dance. Did you know that? It's a waltz. Quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow, quick, slow, slow. In fact, if you Google this when you get home or on your phone as soon as this service is over, if you Google this, you know what you're going to find? You're going to find dance instructions for the good old Texas two-step. But it's got an extra quick in there. It's quick, quick, slow, slow, quick, quick, slow, slow. You guys with me at all here? In fact, there is a country western song by Dale Watson that has this exact title, and that's how it goes. Quick, quick, slow, slow. I'm doing my best country western voice. Quick, quick, slow, slow. Quick, quick, slow. You all sing with me? Quick, quick, slow, slow. Did you enjoy that? Okay. I'm having some fun here, but I think this is really practical because I hope the next time you are in a tense conversation, it's important, you're in an argument with your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you're in a tense meeting with your boss, your coach is ripping you for something, or your friend is mad at you about something else, and you are feeling slow to listen, but quick to speak and lash out and quick to anger, and you're not wanting to listen at all. I hope that song pops into your head. And I hope you think quick, quick, slow, slow, quick, quick, slow, slow. And you think quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. In fact, we could double up on the listen. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because we could all use a double helping of listening in those tense moments. And I would say in those moments, don't be quick to anger, be slow to it, and try to get in step with the other person. In fact, I think you could really simply think of it as the difference between a boxing match. What if instead of boxing, you made it a dance? Try to be in step with the other person. Consider how your words will impact them. You can even get your breath involved. I don't know if you've ever tried this, but honestly, quick, quick, slow that's Lamaze breathing, isn't it? So if you've been through a pregnancy or in your family or anything like that, like 2 quick inhales, that helps handle stress and a lot of different things. In fact, I've noticed that when I go for a jog or a run, you try to pay attention to your breathing, and you might even do as you're breathing or as you're taking your steps, you alternate your breath, but I like to do 2 quick inhales with each step. Slow exhale. And what I've just found is that helps me fill my lungs a little bit more. Listen, I'm not a very good runner. I never have been. But I find that just helps me get a little more oxygen. It helps me be a little bit better of a runner. And the reason I tell you that is because maybe you would just admit you're not a very good listener. What if this could help? What if this could help? And sometimes we just think that it's all emotional, it's all spiritual, it's all mental. There are physical things that can slow you down and help you to be in step with the other person, to time out and to weigh your words. So before you speak, before you get angry, take a couple quick inhale breaths, a long exhale, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. Because it's not about winning in the sense of a boxer. When you get into that argument, don't box, dance. Engage with that person. Don't enrage them. Don't isolate. Don't instigate. Concentrate. How's that for a preacher line right there? Because sometimes it's better to say nothing, but rather to listen and to time out your words just right. That's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you so much for being here with us. And I want to make sure you know next Sunday we've got a lot of fun stuff happening for Father's Day. You don't want to miss it. It's a great opportunity to invite someone. Maybe you know somebody that you've been thinking about inviting. I know it's been a weird year and a half. Am I supposed to invite somebody? Am I not? I think we're in a time where you can start to feel comfortable to invite people to come back to church with you. And I also want to just say, if you're new around here, we would love to help you get connected. There's a connection card that's on your seat. If you haven't had a chance to fill it out earlier, you could do that right after the service. In fact, you could take it with you. There's a blue banner and a table right out there in the middle of the lobby. We would love to meet you there and give you a gift. And if you're watching online with us today, you can do the online connection card that's in the chat right now. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. I will see you guys next week. Have a great day.